I gotta say, we all know it's not exactly like beach reading, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing about Gatsby. It's not just some stuffy classic. It's a story that just seems to stick with people, you know? For generations, readers have been haunted by this story. And we're going to dig into why. What is it about this book?
It really is fascinating how a novel like this can still generate so much debate
Yeah.
and inspire so many new interpretations, even at like almost a century later.
I know, right? So we're going beyond just like the surface level. We're going to talk about those surprising connections to Fitzgerald's own life, like the
Yeah.
actual jazz age that was simmering beneath all those like glitzy parties.
Right.
And this book really makes you question everything you thought you knew about the American dream.
Absolutely.
You know, like it turns it on its head a little bit.
Yeah, and to really kind of unpack the novel's power, I think a good place to start is with the man who wrote it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's like set the stage here.
Okay.
Fitzgerald. Young, ambitious,
Right.
and he falls head over heels for this captivating like socialite named Ginevra King.
Right.
And doesn't that sound familiar?
It does, yeah.
Because she is often considered to be the inspiration for Daisy.
Yes.
You know, this golden girl from this insanely wealthy family.
Absolutely.
And just like Gatsby, Fitzgerald was smitten, totally captivated.
Yeah, and just like Gatsby, he found himself kind of on the outside looking in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the King family was not thrilled about this match. And in fact, her own father supposedly told Fitzgerald that poor boys shouldn't think of marrying rich girls.
Well, that's brutal.
Yeah, talk about a gut punch. Ouch.
I know, right? And you can just feel that sting of rejection, that yearning for something that just seems unattainable. And it's woven directly into Gatsby's pursuit of Daisy.
Right.
You know, it's almost like Fitzgerald took his own heartbreak, his ambition, that almost obsessive longing, and just poured it into the very heart of this novel.
Yeah, and that right there, that kind of tension is what gives the novel its enduring power.
Okay.
This clash between old money and new money.
Totally.
Even in a society that claims to value, you know, reinvention, social climbing, Gatsby can buy his way into West Egg, but he can never truly buy his way into Daisy's world.
It's like he hits this invisible wall, right?
Absolutely.
And it's so interesting because when we look at the actual settings that inspired West Egg and East Egg, these were real places for Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking Long Island mansions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Places like the now demolished Beacon Towers, which a lot of people believe fueled his vision of Gatsby's lavish, over-the-top estate.
Absolutely. He was repurposing real places, infusing them with these social hierarchies and anxieties of the jazz age.
Yeah.
So you've got Great Neck with its kind of nouveau riche exuberance,
Yeah.
becoming West Egg in the novel,
Okay.
a place where people are striving, trying to buy their way into this certain lifestyle.
Right.
And then across the bay, you have East Egg, which is Port Washington, steeped in old money lineage, you know.
Right. Like we were here first.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
can't buy this.
You can't buy your way in.
Right.
It's generations.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it wasn't just the geography that he was so intentional about.
Right.
He was really trying to peel back the layers of this jazz age world, right? He wasn't content to just show the glamorous parties and the carefree flappers.
Right.
He wanted to expose the cracks,
Yeah.
the undercurrents of disillusionment beneath the surface.
Exactly. Exactly. And remember, this is, 1922,
Okay.
the height of the jazz age.
Right.
But this is also post-World War I America,
Right.
a time when prohibition wasn't just about banning booze.
Right. Right.
It created this whole black market,
Yeah.
this fuel for criminal empires.
Okay.
And Fitzgerald uses that,
Okay.
Gatsby's bootlegging,
Right.
to show us how these massive fortunes are really made.
Yeah, it's so clever how he weaves in those real-life details into this story. And it's not just the illegal booze, right?
Right.
There's that whole thread about Tom and his rants about Nordics.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, it feels very deliberate. Like, it's an echo of the real anxieties and prejudices about immigrants that were, like, simmering beneath the surface of American society at the time.
Absolutely. Fitzgerald, he had his finger on the pulse of those social anxieties.
Totally.
And he was not afraid to show how they festered, even in the most glamorous corners of society. Remember those newspaper clippings you sent?
Oh, yeah?
About the Hall Mills murder case?
Yeah.
I mean, that scandal just absolutely rocked the nation.
Yeah, it did.
And it has those same elements that you see in Gatsby.
Oh, wow.
The infidelity, the social climbing, this really dark side of wealth.
That's true.
that Fitzgerald, he explores that so well.
It's like he took those real-life anxieties, that sensational case, and he used it to add this whole other layer
Right.
of depth and commentary to the novel, which is so cool. But speaking of things that make you think, let's talk about that green light at the end of Daisy's dock.
Okay.
I mean, it's such a small detail.
It is.
But it's become this huge symbol in literature.
Right. And it's fascinating how, like, open to interpretation that symbol is.
Oh, totally.
On the surface level, it represents Gatsby's yearning for Daisy.
Right.
This lost love, this idealized past.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also kind of speaks to something much more universal.
Okay.
That very human desire for what we can't have.
Right.
That yearning for something that's always just out of reach.
It's true. It's like we all have that, right?
Yeah.
Like that thing that we want so bad.
Absolutely.
And the way Fitzgerald uses it, it's so interesting because it can seem so hopeful at times, like almost like a beacon leading Gatsby towards this brighter future.
Yeah.
But the deeper you get into the story, it's like this warning sign,
Right.
Yeah. Like be careful what you wish for, because chasing illusions can lead you down a very, very dark path.
Exactly. And that's where I think Fitzgerald's cynicism about the American dream really comes into play.
Okay.
He wasn't buying into that whole rags to riches fairy tale.
Okay.
He had seen firsthand the emptiness, the moral compromises that can come with chasing wealth and status.
Right.
That green light, in a way, becomes this symbol of how easily our aspirations can become twisted.
Oh, that's interesting. And what's so interesting is that even now,
Right.
almost a century later,
I know.
people are still debating what that green light means.
I
And the novel as a whole,
yeah.
some literary critics even suggest that it hints at like deeper themes of like forbidden desires and the complexities of sexuality during that era,
Which just goes to show the power of a well-crafted story.
Right.
It can resonate across generations,
Totally.
spark new interpretations, new
Yeah.
conversations
Yeah.
as societal values change, as perspectives evolve.
It's amazing. It really is wild to think that a book written in the 1920s about like lavish parties and unattainable dreams could still feel so relevant today.
I know.
But here we are.
Here we are, still talking about Gatsby.
Still talking about Gatsby.
And what it says about us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty amazing.
Like, what does that say about us?
That's the beauty of great literature, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It transcends its own time.
Totally.
And a place to tap into something like deeply human.
Right.
And what's more human than this desire for connection, for love, for something more than what we have?
Totally. And Gatsby just puts a huge spotlight on the dangers of like clinging too tightly to the past, of letting an idealized version of someone or some time dictate our choices.
Absolutely. It's so true. Think about Gatsby, right?
Yeah.
He's obsessed with recreating this like moment in time, a relationship that may have never even been as perfect as he remembers it.
Right, right.
I think there's a cautionary tale there for all of us.
Oh, totally.
About the danger of nostalgia.
Right.
The need to like let go.
Let go, move forward.
And move on.
Yeah. It's a tough lesson, but a necessary one for sure. But what's so crazy is that this novel, which is like, I mean, come on, it's considered like the great American novel.
Right. By many.
This classic wasn't always so popular.
That's true.
It actually like tanked when it was first published.
I know.
Oh, you imagine.
I know. What a flop.
A flop?
Right.
Yeah, Fitzgerald.
But then, like, something really interesting happened.
Okay.
World War II breaks out.
Okay.
And soldiers are given these paperback copies of Gatsby to read while they're overseas.
Wow.
They're far from home, facing unimaginable situations.
Yeah.
And they found something in Gatsby's longing, in his disillusionment,
Yeah.
that really resonated with their own experiences.
That's so interesting.
It became this, like, unexpected wartime hit.
Wow.
This shared experience for this generation that was grappling with loss and searching for meaning in a world that had completely been turned upside down.
Right.
And when those soldiers returned home,
Yeah.
they brought Gatsby with them.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible.
It's amazing how a book can go from being like virtually forgotten
I know.
to sparking these deep conversations, to like shaping our understanding of a particular time period, influencing movies, music, art,
Right.
for decades to come.
It's amazing.
It makes you wonder what Fitzgerald would think of Gatsby's legacy.
Right. His own creation coming back to,
Like how his story continues to resonate with each new generation.
I'd like to think he would be surprised.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit hopeful.
Yeah.
Because while the specifics of the Jazz Age might feel a little distant now,
Totally.
the themes that he was exploring, the class, ambition, the allure and the illusion of the American dream.
Yes.
Those feel as urgent and relevant as ever.
It's so true. Okay, so before we wrap up our deep dive into The Great Gatsby, I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
If Gatsby, in all his flawed glory, represents this striving, this yearning for something more, what does that say about our aspirations today?
That's the question, right?
What are we reaching for?
Yeah.
And at what cost?
And at what cost, exactly.
Ooh, okay. So much to think about.
Right.
So many layers.
So many layers to this book.
I love it. Well, there you have it. From the real-life scandals that fueled Fitzgerald's imagination to that enduring symbol of the green light, we've explored why The Great Gatsby continues to fascinate and challenge readers nearly a century after it was written.
It's a story for the ages.
It really is. And hey, who knows? Maybe this deep dive will even inspire you to revisit this American masterpiece with fresh eyes.
There you go.
Until next time, happy reading.
Absolutely.